My first Avid introduction was during an open house. I was an incoming sixth grader researching all of the programs that were available for me, and I came across the Avid program. I found the program as a good fit for me in terms of preparing me for college, which neither of my parents had attended. The school that I was at prior, we didn't talk about college, we didn't receive any specific strategies, so I was interested in achieving my dreams through this Avid elective course. Stepping into the Avid elective felt completely different. It was vibrant. I remember there was a large pinwheel of college pennants of various colleges from all over the country that I'd never even heard of, like Yale and Brown University and Harvard University. There was also a collection of Avid posters and graduation caps, and walking into the room felt like becoming a part of an atmosphere centered on college and achievement. Avid was strictly an application-based elective, so the students who were in the program with me, they were very like-minded and definitely had aspirations and dreams of college. Many of them, their parents also did not attend college, and they were first-generation college students. I was the very reserved student who came into the Avid elective my sixth grade year, and it took a couple years in the Avid elective program for me to sort of burst out of my bubble. If I'm able to do that for a student as well, I'm having an impact on the next generation that's coming behind me and continuing that Avid experience for others.
Good afternoon. Wow, there's a lot of us here today. Let's get started. I stand behind the framed accolades that are plastered against the wall, representing decades of college dreams. These dreams were ones that my immigrant family could only imagine. Sitting before me are students with bright, beaming eyes, inquiring about the significance of college and my own aspirations at their age. My journey to college was possibly my family's aspiration, living through me and motivating me to consider what college could mean for me. As I recount a collection of first-generation college graduate, first-generation American born and raised, and the first of my family to enter a doctoral program, I see my students gaze at the pennants around the room with the theme, "Oh, the places you'll go." It reminds me of a familiar quote I once heard in the Avid elective back when I was uncertain about the path to college. Now in the fall of my sixth grade year at Lehigh-Hikers Middle School is where my story truly begins. I remember walking down the brick corridors as students rushed by me to gather together in familiar areas, rushing and greeting teachers, collecting schedules, and finding new classrooms. I recall receiving a flyer for the Avid program with an attached application for the upcoming cohort. My mother inquiring about its importance and assisting me in filling out the application. A couple weeks passed, and I was sitting in room 25, the same room in which I would eventually teach, but that part of the story comes much later. It was in that room I was introduced to concepts and phrases such as universities, Ivy League colleges, criteria, dormitories, and other college-related terminology. I was drawn to tutorials as my investigative personality allowed me to bring the math and science questions with which I struggled to receive assistance from my group members. Ms. Prashad and Ms. Golden allowed me to often take the lead with the support of Ms. Roberts, my college tutor, as I became familiar with the routine and could assist my peers with their questions. The Avid elective was my ticket to college, literally and figuratively. It was my first visit on a college campus, encouraged my involvement with on-campus activities such as Battle of the Books, and the College Reach Out program sponsored by Florida Gulf Coast University. I became a student ambassador my seventh grade year and facilitated fifth graders touring the campus during recruitment events. Suddenly, time flew, and I entered the Avid program once more at Lehigh Senior High School, which would become the pathway to my interests in biology. I continued to lead tutorial groups with and volunteered at LAMS with the AVID program and became a sit-in tutor my senior year in Ms. Walker's classroom. After 7 years as an AVID scholar, I applied to local colleges and universities, taking all the strategies of tutorology to probe and find the answers to complex math and science questions, Socratic seminars, to participate in meaningful discussions with my peers, focused notes in math, which allowed me to hone in on the processes of arriving at the answer to refine my tutorial questions, and routine binder checks, which enhanced my organizational and time management skills learned during my AVID participation. I was encouraged by Ms. Prashad to apply as a college tutor, was accepted, and there I engaged in conversations with students once more at a personal level, where I shared anecdotes about my experience as a biology major, aspirations of becoming a doctor, and my journey with AVID. It was there I assisted with the national demonstration process, and maybe it was the questions they asked, their bright eyes and interest shown, when I began to see the girl I was all those years ago through the conversation in which I engaged. I accompanied them on a tour of FGCU's campus and showed them the familiar buildings on campus tours I attended for classes. 3 years later, I decided to minor in education, stacking on courses. You remember room 25, right? I became a science teacher in room 25. After 1 year in the science classroom, Dr. Gibson, the principal, encouraged me to teach AVID the following school year. My first year teaching AVID was seeing the seed that was planted long ago of college dreams come true and lifelong commitment coming to fruition. It was these seeds that allowed us to strive towards demonstration status at that specific site in spring of 2023 and receive that auspicious designation once more. Today, at Fort Myers Middle Academy, it is the conversations shared with my mentors along the way that has enabled my growth as an educator to coordinate the AVID program, apply my learning, and share my knowledge with others. It is closing the opportunity gaps, which once presented a barrier, and presenting a school-wide initiative for college and career readiness while motivating students to strive towards their aspirations of college success in spite of obstacles. It is opening their minds to a world beyond them. It is seeing the students I tutored during the AVID National Demonstration process return to campus during open house and say, "You did it, you finished." And seeing them transition towards their higher educational goals. It is recreating the experiences of philosophical chairs, tutorials, and college campus tours, which led this first generation, American born and raised, AVID, and college student to graduate from college and complete a master's degree. My students motivated me to continue striving for a doctoral degree, focusing on educational reform through better learning environments, which feature a student-centered approach to instruction that allows students to grapple with concepts to drive inquiry, foster student agency, and encourage them to view learning as a process, not a product, which is most typically seen in the traditional teacher-directed method. For me, it truly is decades of college dreams, of a journey over a decade in the making and counting. I started this story at the beginning of my 6th grade year, but it is a humble beginning to which I owe my success, to imagining all the possibilities and moving forward. Let's go further together.